Hi guys, what is going on? If you're watching this, it's either two things going on. You did not make it to class today to watch our review session, or you want to go back and review our review session. See how I did that? So sit back, make sure you're watching, make sure you're listening, make sure you're taking notes. You can use your notebook for your test tomorrow. So make sure that you've got all this going on. So let's jump in this. So we got microbiology, virus, and immune system. That's what we've covered in the last 3 weeks now. Wednesday will be back 3 weeks into this 9 weeks. So that's what our test is on tomorrow. So we're going to look at that. We did not cover bacteria, so bacteria will not be on this. And I rewrote the whole test because we didn't cover bacteria and we're online, so it's a little different than when we're in person. So I rewrote the whole test and yesterday. So the way I did it was I went through all our lessons that we did in the last 3 weeks and I pulled questions from our lessons. So that's where it's coming from. In fact, there's some, I just copied and pasted some of the questions that I gave you, especially in the videos. So if you go back and review that material, you should be good. And watch this, so you should be good. And anything that you don't know, make sure that you are writing it down in your notebook. All right? Okay, so let's see what's going on. All right, so just kind of reviewing, you don't have to write this down. You've already wrote it down. We already broke it down our first day of what we're covering, and we've talked about it every day. I know you know this by heart now. But just a quick reminder is that, we're looking at viruses just in this. We haven't talked about bacteria, fungi, or protists or any of that specifically yet. But what we're looking at the basic characteristics of virus. We also talked about how the viruses spread. We talked about the treatment of viruses, and we talked about the prevention of viruses. And remember, we talked about the immune system, which is also a part of the treatment. And we talked about just basic microbiology stuff altogether. All right, so here's the list of stuff. So it's a little different than what we've been doing the last semester. Last semester, I pretty much honestly gave you the test and you practiced it and you took the test. Well, I'm getting you prepping you for high school. So it is a little different. Is I'm giving you this review session here. Your notebook is your study guide. This is just kind of reviewing to make sure you have that information in your notebook. If you don't, it is a great time to put it in there. And I wrote the study guide right after I wrote the test. So hint, hint. All right, here we go. So the first one is, what is microbiology? So we're going to break that word down, and you need to know each piece of it. Micro means small. Bio means life. Ology means the study of. So microbiology is the study of small life. We talk about life, there are 6 kingdoms of life, and you have to know these 6 kingdoms. Is not a matching, it is not a multiple choice, there is not a word bank. You've got to type these 6 kingdoms from your memory or from your notebook, so you could write this down in your notebook. There are 6 kingdoms, and remember, you're watching this a recording. You can pause anytime you want, and I'm going to move kind of quickly, so you can pause it, come back to it, write it down, do whatever you want to do. But there are 6 kingdoms. There's the animal kingdom, us. There's the plant kingdom, grass, trees, plants. There's bacteria. There is fungi. You want to invite him to the party. There are protists, and there are archaea. Now, you'll see bacteria. Remember, the scientific name for bacteria is eubacteria, and the scientific name for protist is protista. And sometimes for archaea, you'll see archaea bacteria, or you'll see extremophiles. So those are just some names that you might see in some of these questions. Maybe not mine, but in EOGs, or we have to do a benchmark. So you might see those words. So number 3, out of those 6 kingdoms, you're going to work on 4 of them in microbiology. And those last 4 we talked about, those microbes, the bacteria, microorganism, the fungi, microorganisms. Although we can see some fungi with our eye, a lot of them are microscopic. You're also going to talk about protists. Protists is organisms in water. And the last and the fourth one is archaea. So those are the four things we're going to talk about in microbiology. Not things, those are the four organisms. Okay. What are agents of disease? Agents of disease is anything thing that can cause a disease. So we have our four organisms that can cause diseases, which are agents of diseases. We have viruses, which is not an organism. It doesn't have a kingdom. It's not alive. It's non-living. And there are some other agents of diseases, such as cancer. Cancers can be caused by chemicals. They can be caused by radiation. So there's other types of diseases out there that do have that can be caused by something else. We're going to jump down to number 6 here. It really does. I should have had 6 before 5. This is just a statement. All living organisms are made of cells. Everything in kingdoms, everything, all 6 of them. Animals, plants, bacteria, fungi, protists, and archaea are all made of cells. Every single one of them. See, there's no viral kingdom. Viruses aren't in the kingdom because they're non-living. Now, these cells, there are 2 types of cells that all living organisms are made of. There are prokaryotic cells and there are eukaryotic cells. Need to know this. So a prokaryotic cell are only in 2 organisms, bacteria and archaea. Eukaryotic cells, plants, animals, fungi, and protists are all made up of eukaryotic cells. So you have 2, they're made up of pro, and 4, they're made up of eukaryotic. Now, prokaryotic cell, what makes it different from a eukaryotic cell is because it's a very simple cell. It has no nucleus, it has no membrane-bound organelles. It's very simple, and it reproduces pretty quickly. Well, eukaryotic cells are what you guys studied last year in 7th grade science. If you had Mr. Judice, you even got to make a model of a eukaryotic cell. And in 7th grade, you studied the nucleus, the mitochondria, vacuoles, the endoplasmic reticulum. Those all are organelles that is in a eukaryotic cell, but they're not in a prokaryotic cell. The only thing in a prokaryotic cell, there are 3 major parts of a prokaryotic cell. There's genetic material, the DNA and RNA. There are ribosomes, and there's a cell membrane. Now, there are some prokaryotic cells that have some more parts to it. They might have flagellum, which helps them move, which we'll talk about that. They might have a capsid. Some bacteria have that. And some of them even have a cell wall. But the 3 main parts of a prokaryotic cell is that all prokaryotic cells have genetic material, they have ribosomes, and they have a cell membrane. Okay, those are the differences. All right. All right, so we're finished with that first part, that microbiology part that was in that first week. Next, we're going to move on to our viruses. And viruses, we spent quite a bit of time on that. So we're going to start out at the very beginning. Number 7, are viruses alive or non-living? They are non-living. Non-living is not the same thing as dead. Dead means that it was once alive. Viruses are not alive. Viruses are like little robots. And these little robots have a job, and their job is to replicate. Their job is to invade cells and to replicate. That's all they do. They're not made of cells. They don't produce waste. They don't exchange gases. They don't reproduce. They replicate, but they don't reproduce. And they don't get rid of, they don't take in energy, so they don't eat. So they don't do any of that. They're not alive. They're not living. They're non-living. And that's the reason why they're non-living, because they're not made of cells. They don't do all the other stuff. And number 9, what organisms can be infected by viruses? All organisms can be infected by viruses. The 6 kingdoms. Viruses can infect animals. They can infect plants. They can infect bacteria. They can infect fungi. They can infect protists. They can infect archaea. So viruses, if it's made of cells, it can attack it because it likes cells. And viruses like a certain type of cell. Sometimes there'll be a jump over, and that's when we have big issues. We talked about the bird virus. We're talking about COVID. Those were all in other animals, types of animal cells that jumped to another animal that is very similar to human cells, and then that jumped to humans. So that's where we kind of come in with some major issues with some of these viruses, which is bad. So they can infect any cell. It doesn't matter. Even archaea, which live in very extreme environments. That's crazy. All right, also make sure you know your vocab. I gave you 2 sets of vocab. The first set was all about microbiology, the second, which you need to know, and the second set was viruses and bacteria. Now, in the virus and bacteria vocab, we didn't cover bacteria, so you don't need to know that for the test, but you need to know the viral or anything to do with the immune system. So make sure you have those words and copy them down in your notebook. Remember, you're not going to have access to all your lessons that's online. So if you don't know, if you're reading through and you don't know something, my suggestion is write it down in your notebook. All right, that's it for this page. Let's jump to our next page. And remember, at any time, if I'm moving too fast, you can always pause it. You can also hit the rewind and rewatch. All right, continuing with viruses. Viruses, what are viruses? Well, they're things. They're non-living. They're made of 2 parts. Major parts is genetic material, which is DNA and RNA, and a capsid, which we're going to talk about that in a minute. Oh, actually, I moved to number 12. Their one job is to replicate. That's it. They're not living. So not made of any cells. And number 12, we've already started talking about. There's 2. We're talking about the structure of viruses. Remember, that's part of our standard that we have to know the structure of it. So the structure of the virus, we know, has 2 main parts. It has genetic material, DNA and RNA, and it also has a capsid. And a capsid is that outer covering that protects that genetic material. It's very important that genetic material is protected because that's its whole job, is to inject that genetic material into the nucleus of a cell in order for it to be replicated. You also need to know how it replicates. Well, it replicates because it hijacks, invades, takes over, tricks, whatever word you want to use, another cell. And these cells, they think it's supposed to be there, but they're not. They trick them. Remember in our video with the guy with the half face? Now they have these keys that insert into the locks of the cell, and they trick the cell to letting them come in. And when they come in, then they get pulled down into the nucleus. They trick the nucleus and they make copy after copy after copy. So one virus goes into the cell, and not even 1 million, millions and millions of viruses come out. Remember, these are tiny, microscopic, you even have to have a special microscope in the sort to see these. These are so tiny. They are so much smaller than bacteria. They are tiny, tiny, tiny. And when they rupture, they come out, they rupture the cell, and they destroy the cell. Which, like they said in the video, we have 100 trillion cells. So even though there's millions and millions of viruses being produced, we still have a lot of cells. But we also have a secret weapon called the immune system, which we're going to talk about in a moment. But yeah, so that's how it replicates. It makes copy after copy after copy. How do we prevent a viral infection? Number 13. How do we prevent it? Well, we're living it. Our world is living it. We do it every day. We don't, probably some of you don't even think about it anymore. You see here, every morning I get up, I get dressed, I put this on. I put something on because I never know when I might need it real quick. So if I go ahead and do it on now, I don't have to think about it. So best prevention, hands down, washing your hands. And that's not just COVID. That's any virus, any bacteria, any fungi. Well, produce, you drink it, so don't drink contaminated water, which we'll talk about that. But wash your hands. You've heard it in Bill Nye. You heard it from the CDC. You've heard it in every video that you've watched about how to prevent viral infection. And I know I've said it a lot. And if you were in the classroom with me, you would see me washing my hands a lot. Wash your hands because you touch your face or you touch your food and now you've touched something else. Now you take that and you put it in your face or you put it on your food and then you eat it. Ugh. So make sure you wash your hands. But that's not enough. We learned through our Swiss cheese model that you got to do more than one thing because that's not enough. We have to wear our mask. We have to wait 6 feet apart. Those three things are something we live every day. You go to Walmart, you go to Food Line, you got to wait. You can't be around a lot of people. We also learned that in our lab. In our lab, the more we're around people, the more people are around, and the more contacts we make, the higher chance of us getting it. And a mask is not enough. Well, I wore my mask and I still got it. Yeah, because only 75% of masks, when everybody's got their mask on, will stop it. It still can go through it. That's the reason why you have to wash your hands and you have to wait 6 feet apart because it still can go through those masks. Now, there's other parts of way that to prevent it. Staying away from large crowds, because we just said the more you're exposed, the more chance of it. And also that when you're sick, quarantine, stay away from people, or even just stay away from people even if you're not sick. Those are the best ways to prevent it. Another way, which we're going to jump down to number 15, that's part of the immune system and viruses, they go back and forth, is to get a vaccine. A vaccine is a way to trick your immune system that you've got the viruses there, but it's not. Vaccines just uses little pieces of the virus or even a inanimated, because it's not alive, because you can't say dead, even though you'll see it's a dead virus, but it's not dead. It's an inanimated virus that cannot hurt you. So it introduces you into the immune system and it tricks your immune system to come up with a plan, which we're going to talk about immune system in a minute, and we're going to talk about the plan. But that's what a vaccine does. And so next time the real virus comes along, it's like, I know you. You're not supposed to be here. Get out. Oh, you're not leaving? Fine. I'm going to get you. I'm going to send my army after you. And that's what it does. And it destroys it. So now instead of getting sick and then the immune system catching up and get rid of it, it catches before these millions and millions and millions of viruses are produced. It goes ahead and knocks it out very quickly. And that's what a vaccine is. And you're saying, Ms. Phillips, sometimes when I get the flu vaccine, I get sick. No, you don't. You don't get sick. And you might get sick from something else, but the majority of the times, if you're feeling bad after a vaccine, you're not sick. You tricked your immune system that you're sick. Remember, you tricked it. So that fever that you're getting, those body aches, the sore throat, and you're sneezing and you're coughing is because you've tricked your immune system to send out these responses because it thinks there's something a foreign invader is in the body, and it's going to do everything to get rid of it. It's going to jack that temperature up because, like we talked about in the immune system, we talked about the viruses and bacteria. They love our body. They love the temperature. Temperature between 97 and 99 is their favorite temperature. Everything else, they start dying away or start getting destroyed. So our body knows that. Our immune system knows that. So it goes into the hypothalamus, it turns that temperature up, and it starts destroying those foreign invaders. There's some bad side of it, though, if it goes on long enough, because sometimes we talked about if those viruses get too far, the immune system might work a little bit harder. Or maybe the immune system is weak, and so it jacks up the fever because that's not as much. So it jacks up the fever, and now we might have this issue. Because if we get a fever over 104 for long periods of time, we can cause tissue damage. tissues in our brain, in our heart, even in our kidneys. So this is the reason why we take fever reducers. Just we want to reduce it down where it doesn't harm the other tissues. But the immune system, it wants to get rid of the foreign invaders. So there might be damage done to other things. Now, treatment of a viral infection. So you're sick. Your immune system has been activated. You got all this stuff going on. You're like, I'm taking cold medicine. It's making me feel better. Yes, it does. But it's not treating the virus. What it's doing is it's supporting the number one treatment, which is your immune system. Your immune system, for the majority of viruses that you're exposed to, will kill. Oh, I use that word kill. It won't kill it. It will destroy those viruses. So we have to take care of our army. We have to go in, and now we're going to kind of jump in. This is kind of that bridge. We're going to talk about the immune system. Your immune system is the army of your body. Its job is to protect and destroy. So when you're exposed to these viruses or bacteria or any of these agents of disease, it's going to send out a force to destroy. Number one treatment, immune system. So you have to, just like any other army, you have to feed an army. You have to water it. It has to have some kind of liquids, and it has to have energy, and it has to have the tools. So in your body, when you're sick, you have a sore throat, you have a headache, you cough, you're achy, you don't sleep, you don't eat, you don't drink. Well, those are all the things you have to have for the immune system to work. You have to feed your army. You have to water your army. You have to give your army resources. You have to let your army rest. So in order to do that, your mom, your dad, maybe even you, go get you some Tylenol. Go get your flu medicine. Go get your cough medicine. Go get sore throat medicine. Go get the little nasal thing to keep you from running all over the place, to release that. They're going to give you that in order for you to feel better, that you can sleep, that you can eat, that you can drink. And drinking too. Make sure you're eating and drinking, because those are those materials that they need, the immune system army needs in order to fight the foreign invader. So imagine this. You have an army and you send it out to fight. They have no guns. They have no bombs. They have no knives. They have no swords. They're tired. They're sleepy. They're hungry. They're not going to win. So you want to make sure, even before you get sick, that you have a strong immune system. You need to eat healthy. You need to drink water. You need to drink orange juice. You need to exercise. You need to de-stress. You need to sleep. All those things not only helps the rest of your body, but it really does help your immune system. Now, part of that immune system, now we're jumping down to, the second treatment of a viral infection is antivirals. Now, antivirals, there's not a whole lot of them. They don't treat the majority. They treat a few of the viral infections. HIV, they have some antivirals for that. It doesn't totally destroy the HIV, but it does manage it where the immune system's not being destroyed. And that's the reason why you need an antiviral for some of these viruses, because they do affect the immune system. Or they have some immunodeficient patients. That immunodeficient means their immune system isn't that strong. Maybe it's caused by other diseases, or maybe older, or maybe they've been fighting viruses after viruses after viruses, or maybe a virus has just went on so long, it's just and they're not getting the full fuel and the energy that they need in order to survive, their immune system to push it and get rid of it. So got kind of on a tangent there. So they have these antivirals to go in and help the immune system. But we don't have an antiviral for flu. We don't have an antiviral for COVID. We don't have an antiviral for cold. So these are the common things that we see here. So the best way that we have to do to be healthy is to prevent. Number one, prevent it. And number two is, if you do get it, is to treat it like you're supposed to. Beforehand, strong immune system, keep it strong. Afterwards, keep it strong as best as you can. Make sure that you're resting. Make sure you're staying away. That is the best thing. Because in that immune system, continue on down to number 16 and 17, you have these soldiers called white blood cells and antibodies. And these are the ones that do the fighting. And these are the ones we have to equip. And they have to build these white blood cells. And so what happens the first time a virus comes in, there's white blood cells patrolling throughout your body. They're on patrol. General white blood cells. And there's different types of blood cells. But there's just general white blood cells. And they know this invader's coming. So it takes that virus or a piece of it and they send it back to the immune system and they come up with a plan, just like any army. So an army, he gets that intel, that information, and they build an army. Well, we need these white blood cells to go, and we need this many to go and get them. Oh, and then we send out antibodies, and they tag them. So you have a virus that's floating around, and you have lots and lots of antibodies. As you have more antibodies than you have white blood cells. So that antibody comes in and tags it. It tags us to an antigen, which is a protein marker on that virus. So it finds it, and the antibody attaches to that antigen, and it starts sending out signals. White blood cells, come and destroy it, come and destroy it. And there are some antibodies that will actually destroy it too. And that's part of it too. So these are your army. These are the ones that are fighting on that front line. And your body takes time to build these things and build this plan. And that's the reason why you'll get sick at the beginning, but then start feeling better. It's not because of the medicine. It's because your immune system is overwhelming it. So at the beginning, lots and lots of viruses, but then as the immune system kicks down, they start destroying them. And so eventually they're wiped out. And once you get it, or you get a vaccine, you have this thing called memory cells. And it's exactly what the name of it. They remember. You're not supposed to be here. You're bad. We got to get rid of you. I'm calling the immune system them. I'm sending out the army because the army's already been created. You've already created, the immune system's created a plan. It is ready to go. It is ready to fight. And it's going to come out and it's going to wipe it out. So although you might have had COVID, you might have the flu. Well, flus are a little different. Flu and colds are a little different. We'll talk about that in a moment. But you have these and you won't get them again. Some of these other viral vaccines you get, you won't get it because before they explode in numbers, the army's already there. So remember, when you're first exposed, lots go out and they fight them down to nothing. But after you've been exposed, only a few viruses can be there, one, and then they're going to start sending that army out. So before those virus population can go crazy, they go ahead and destroy them. And that's a vaccine. And that's also immunity. And immunity, sometimes you have natural immunity. There are people who have natural immunity that they're so quick, they've already got their immune system, they're quick to respond, and they never really get sick. But if you also can get immunity if you've had it before. Not all viruses, but the majority of viruses, if you have that strong immune system. Now, there's one virus called the chickenpox virus. And I got to go get my second shot on this. So chickenpox, you can have chickenpox. I had chickenpox when I was young. But as I age, my immune system goes down. So every time I'm exposed to chickenpox now, or even beforehand, my body came in, took care of it, killed it, no more, never had chickenpox again. But as I age, my immune system goes down. So now I have to take, there's a disease that chickenpox can cause in older adults called the shingles. And shingles is horrible. They're 10 times worse than chickenpox. They affect the nervous system, and it's really bad. So I've already had my first shot, which hurt, and I got to get another shot. And this is just to prevent me from getting the chickenpox because my immune system is pushed down. I don't have that same immunity I had when I was younger. So that's kind of how we have to. And sometimes when you get in vaccines, you have to get boosters. Some of you had to get boosters in 6th and 7th grade in order to stay in school. So those are very important because your immune system, you might have immunity that lasts a few years, and then you have to go back and get it. Sometimes it lasts your lifetime. I mean, the chickenpox vaccines pretty much last. I mean, immunity has lasted my life, until now my immune system's starting to kind of degrade a little bit. All right, and that is it, guys. Actually, I got one more thing. Just a reminder about the test. Remember, you can use your notebook for the test. Make sure that you have go back over all the lessons. Make sure you know your definitions. Write down any notes I told you to write down. Go back and look at videos. I have copied and pasted questions right from videos right into the test. So they're not hard questions. If you go back through this material, you should be fine. Now, make sure you watch this in order to get credit also, because this is an assignment. So if you watch it, I have a record of it, so you get credit for it. The people that were in classes and kept their cameras on, they already got it. They don't have to watch this video. But if you are in class and you did that and you're just coming back and review it, that's good too. All right, guys. Good luck. Make sure you're in test tomorrow. The test is only open tomorrow from 8:30 to 1. After that, it's shut down. And if you don't make it tomorrow, which is Wednesday, so Thursday, for some reason you didn't make it to class, so Thursday you want to take the test, you have to email me and say, hey, Ms. Phillips, I want to take the test, and then I'll open the test back open. All right. Anything else? Let me know by email, and good luck, guys.